signs you need to know, recognizing Alzheimer's and dementia with confidence, right? This is very important, not only because it's changing lives, it's also very important for families, for individuals, because when you have a early understanding of Alzheimer's or dementia, we're able to really understand what's really going on. We have time to process what's going on, things to prevent, ways to prevent the disease, and treatment in the earlier stages, okay? Hold on a second. So, again, my name is Vanessa Valerio, and when I first moved here from the Philippines, I was a caregiver. And caregiving and senior care has opened so many doors of opportunities for me. And that's the reason why I'm here, because I feel like after 16 years of care indeed, it's time for me to give back. 2 years ago, I was asking myself what I want to do next in my career. And one of the things that I was really, I discovered about myself was how much I love to help navigating dementia care. And that's the reason why I'm here. So some of us might have loved ones, maybe husband, wives, or parents who are starting to forget things, right? They're starting to forget things, misplacing things. And the question we all have oftentimes, is it normal part of aging? Or is there something more? Okay? So my hope is in this small group of people that will be able to leave this discussion feeling empowered, that we're able to understand the differences between normal aging and early signs of Alzheimer's disease. Okay? So before anything else, can someone tell me what you know about dementia? What do you know about dementia? Anyone? Melody, do you mind if I give you the microphone?
Okay. Like my mom went through it. Dementia first. She was in memory care later.
Got it.
But she passed away at 99.
99.
So the last 5 years, not very good.
What was not very good about it, if I may ask?
She's in some care home.
Care home?
He was such a nice guy in a private room, and they helped her a lot.
Got it.
So she still listens to music and keep the beat with the music, and then we're 4 siblings always would visit her. She knows us. But later on, she lost appetite.
Got it. So she does not eat, but she still maintained the music, the love for music.
The music, the hearing is always there.
Got it.
Then in and out of home, at the end.
It's not.
That's it.
And thank you for sharing, Melody, because that's the hard part, especially in my job when I see family members go through the loss when your loved one is still physically alive, right? It was really hard. It's hard. And when you think of dementia, you think of it's a cognitive decline. It's a problem with the brain that is severe enough to affect your daily function. Those 2 things. It's a physical disease, problem with the brain, severe enough to affect one's life. Those 2 things, okay? And if you look at this, Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. Let's talk about a little bit about the anatomy of our brain, okay? This one, our frontal lobe. Do you know what's the function of our frontal lobe? Emotions. What else? Frontal lobe. This is the CEO part of our brain. The planning, the organizing, decision-making Okay? Frontal lobe. We have temporal lobe, which is on the left and on the right. When you have the left temporal lobe, it's talking about language. L. Language. Left temporal lobe is language. Comprehension. Speaking languages. L. The right temporal lobe, it's more so the music, like Melody said, music, the rhythm, social cues, right? With people who might have a right temporal lobe affected by Alzheimer's disease, oftentimes they will do this inappropriate things that they will do socially because part of their brain is unable to really process what is social cues and proper conduct when you're in the social setting. Parietal lobe, which is right here, it's more so your spatial awareness. Okay? The depth, you see the distance, right? It's also with parietal lobe, it's the how-tos. So when you're trying to follow recipes, right, and you're unable to follow recipes anymore, this is affected. Occipital lobe, this is, what's occipital lobe? Anyone? Any guess? Ice, what's your name? Virginia. Hi, Virginia.
Hi.
Virginia. So yes, so occipital lobe is the eyes, okay? And inside our temporal lobe, two very important part of the brain. Hippocampus. What's hippocampus? Memory, Melody. Okay? Memory, hippocampus. And the limbic system or the amygdala. Anyone? Amygdala.
Hormone.
Probably. It's can be because amygdala is when there's emotions. This is where our emotion, you hear that amygdala hijack. When your amygdala is hijacked, you cannot think clearly because you're overwhelmed with emotions, right? Amygdala hijack, and we don't want that. With people with normal part of the brain, it means that you're still able to control your emotions, right? So, now let's talk about the differences between normal aging and early warning signs of Alzheimer's disease. So with normal aging, we're all going to get old, right? With normal aging, brain is still functioning well, but it's slower, right? With normal aging, we're still able to retrace our steps. Meaning, I lose my keys every now and then, but what I'm capable of doing is I can close my eyes and think of, I went to the bathroom, went to the kitchen, I'm able to retrace my steps back. They can't do it. Okay? The processing of retracing is almost gone. Forgetting the day, right? With my line of work, sometimes it can be physically exhausting and mentally exhausting, and sometimes I'm in autopilot. And, I'm just sometimes surprised, oh, it's already Tuesday. Oh, it's already Wednesday. And that's normal. We all go through that. Sometimes feeling tired of obligations, right? Again, my work can be physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausting. Or maybe the roles that you play, a mother, a grandmother, grandfather, right? It can be exhausting. So at the end of the day, sometimes I'd rather stay in my bed and just relax and recharge. It's normal. Occasional forgetting of the names, right? Who forget names once in a while? I'm really bad at that. I'm the worst. I just ask everyone their name, and the only person I remember name is Lola. Lola because Lola in the Philippines means grandmother. So I'm able to relate. Oh, I remember Melody, right? That's it. So doesn't mean that I have Alzheimer's. It's just normal, right? Now let's talk about the 10 early warning signs of dementia and your responsibilities. Your responsibility once you know this. 2 things is to identify it when you see it and to have hard and yet loving conversation to those people you love. Because again, early detection means you're able to really have the quality of life you deserve. You can actively be part of decision-making process that affects your life. Okay? So hard and yet loving conversation needs to happen. Because I've seen a lot of families who said, I don't know how to talk to my mom. I don't want to hurt her feelings. You know, I respect her need for independence. I just don't know how. But it is our moral obligation. If we really love the person, if we really care about the person, it is very important that we are morally obligated to talk to those people. Create a safe space with them and start those conversations. Now, the first warning signs, memory loss disrupting daily life, right? An example is someone who've used their microwave oven, same microwave oven for 20 years, and then all of a sudden does not know how to operate microwave oven, right? And which part of the brain is affected when there's memory loss? Anyone? Which part of the brain is memory? It's letter H. Hippocampus. Okay? Part of the brain. Challenges with planning. What's the CEO part of our brain? Frontal. Right? So this is part of the brain that's affected, the CEO part of the brain. So someone like an accountant, great with planning, great with numbers, and all of a sudden, numbers become so overwhelming for that person. You have to think of 4 things when you're trying to identify if someone might have some cognitive issues. Number 1, if it's a recurring pattern, frequency, if it's happening often. Number 2, if it's impacting their daily function. If you're starting to notice that this is no longer, the same old melody or Lola before. Sorry for using your names. Just remember your names. And then what else? So if it's out of character of the person, if the person used to be so clean and tidy, always looking good and presentable in public, and started noticing stain on their clothes, looking dirty and disheveled, something that's not right there, right? And if the progression, number 4 is the progression, if it's getting worse, okay? Again, your responsibility is to have hard and yet loving conversations with these people, okay? Confusion with time and place. I've had clients. One client who lives in Palo Alto, she used to be a Stanford researcher. She used to go to this church for almost 40 years. And her husband shared with me that he started noticing that she started getting lost to a place that she's been for how many years, right? Those are red flags. Again, your responsibility is what? What's your responsibility if you see these symptoms? Talk to them. Have hard and yet loving conversations with them.
What do you talk about?
So, very good question. So he asked, like, what do you talk about? The behavior that you've been noticing, right? Create a safe space with this person and say, I have been noticing that you have been forgetting this.
So how would that help the person?
So seek medical support, right? Because nowadays we are in such a great era where there's so much medical advancement. You know, medical advancement, maybe lifestyle changes that needs to happen. Maybe this person might be in high stress job or high stress work job, because dementia does not only victimize older people. Even the younger generation, you can hear that, right? So those type of conversation, because again, medical advancement is here. Maybe the doctor, the neurologist can create a care plan that will help support the quality of life based on what this person wants. So this person is now going to be part of the care planning. So no one's going to, and at the same time, Chow, I want you guys to process this. I hope everybody has advanced directive already. Anyone have advanced directive created already? You have? Everyone? That's the best gift that you give yourself and your family. Okay?
Yeah.
Difficulty with familiar task, right? Someone who bake lasagna for 20 years and all of a sudden do not know how to, what's the next step after boiling the pasta, right? Vision and spatial difficulties. Do you remember which part of the brain for vision and spatial awareness? Which part of the brain? When you think of the spatial awareness, the internal GPS of our brain,
Left.
P. It starts with letter P. Parietal lobe, it's our internal GPS. Okay? So most likely that's what's affected. Misplacing things, right? Someone who used to be so organized, know where everything's at, all of a sudden start misplacing things. So one of our clients' husband reported that he found the remote control inside a sugar canister. Found cell phone inside the freezer. Those are conversations that we have to talk to our loved ones, right? And this one for caregiving. This is when daughters or caregivers will tell us, client has been becoming very suspicious, thinking that someone's stealing something from them. And that's because typically people with Alzheimer's disease or people with cognitive issues is incapable of retracing the steps back. So what happened in their mind, they're still clear, they're still alert, it's not here, the ring is not here, my jewelry is not here, someone might have taken it. Because that's the only logical reason that they can think of. Right? Because in their brain, they're still capable, they're still alert. New problem with words. What's the word? Which part of the brain is language?
Left.
Left temporal lobe, right? Someone who used to be eloquent, great with public speaking, and then all of a sudden unable to finish sentences. Stopping in the mid-sentence, unable to find the right words. And this is connected, withdrawing from activities. Because most of the clients that I have interviewed, it's not that they don't want to be part of the activities. It's they're ashamed. They're embarrassed that people are talking about them. That they used to be so, like this one bright researcher from Stanford. She used to be the center, the leader of the group. And now all of a sudden unable to find words, right? So there's self-protection and embarrassment, the reason for withdrawing activities. right? And what I encourage is everyone to understand how it feels to be in that world. It's scary. It's lonely. It can be isolating too, right? To know that your life is changing right in front of you. Decreased judgment, right? That's why people with cognitive issues are so high risk for scams. Because your frontal lobe, this is part of your brain that sends you red flags that something's not right. Weighs the risk. Something's not right. I need to pause. The CEO part of your brain. And when it's affected, when there's something wrong with this, your guards are down. Scammers, the criminals, they're becoming very good at it. Target those people, right? Changes in mood and personality. When you see someone who used to love social group, talk to people, all of a sudden becomes secluded, don't want to talk, change of personality. Someone who used to be so proper and then all of a sudden make rude comments, racial slur, sexual comments. Maybe, right? So talk to the person. Now, team, this happened. This is a true story. The good thing about Maria was when we had her a few years ago, she was 72 years old, retired teacher, very organized, very social, and loves to dance. Her daughter, amazing daughter, with the help of our caregiver, very good with documentation. She started documenting the first time she saw change in her mother, right? So what you see here, 3rd month, repeats the same question. What time is it? What time is the appointment? Over and over. 8th month, misplaces wallet in odd places, right? Accuses others, being suspicious, getting lost driving, struggles paying bills, someone who's very organized, and becomes noticeably quieter. Maybe embarrassment, self-preservation. Why I wanna, and she was diagnosed with mild stage after the 18th month. Why I wanna show you this time frame is to show you that Alzheimer's disease is a slow, subtle process. Sometimes you don't even recognize it. So, responsibilities of people around us is to notice those changes. And again, work and partner with your medical doctors, primary doctors. Have those conversations. That's why we have insurance, right? We're paying a lot for our health insurance, right? Use them. Use those money for conversations, okay? Now, very important to just briefly talk that it's not just Alzheimer's disease. Do you know, can you guess how many dementia cases there is? How many kinds of dementia? Any guess? Lola, guess. How many dementia kinds there is?
I would think many.
Correct, many. Give me a number. A wild guess.
20?
Anyone? 4?
100.
100, more than 100. You're good at numbers, huh? He's our CEO. He's our CEO. More than 100. There's a lot. But we're just gonna talk about the most famous type of dementia. Alzheimer's disease, slow progression, right? Typically, it's memory loss. Vascular dementia, when there's reduction of blood flow after a stroke, typically, right? Vascular dementia, again, concentration. With vascular dementia, it depends on where the blood flow is reduced in the part of the brain that's affected. So if the blood flow is affected in the hippocampus, what happens? Hippocampus, what's affected in hippocampus? Memory. What about occipital lobe? What happens? Occipital lobe. Eyes, right? So our eyes, our vision. This one is a very tricky type of dementia. Lewy, have you heard of Lewy body dementia?
Yeah.
This one, as much as it's challenging, it's a case that I truly want to be involved in when I'm handling cases. The reason behind it with Lewy body dementia, there's multiple part of the brain that's affected. It's the movement. So you see Parkinsonian symptoms with Lewy body. Hallucination. It's visual and auditory, which means people start seeing things when it's not there. Hearing things when it's not there. Right? And the unfortunate side with Lewy body, their sleep is affected. Which means, anyone knows about REM sleep? REM.
That's where we dream.
What? Okay, hold on. Our Lola is saying something.
I think when it's a deep sleep, and that's where we dream.
Perfection. With REM sleep, it's when we're in our deepest sleep. When we're paralyzed, right? Because it's the deep. This Lewy body, people living with Lewy body, they're unable to reach that deep sleep. So every time when they have a dream that someone's trying to kill them or attack them, they reenact. So if they're trying to protect themselves, they're trying to do that. So some caregivers will report that these people are violent, when in fact, they're acting on their dream. They're trying to protect themselves from someone's trying to kill them, right? So imagine to live in this world when you don't really get to rest. No rest. Because your rest, which is REM sleep, is still affected. One thing that makes this even more complicated is the fluctuation of good days and bad days. Even though you're physically capable of walking, your brain is saying you can't. Right? So this is, for me, the fluctuation cognition is really, I have few clients like that right now, and it's really hard. That's why emotional support, moral support is something we can give to family caregivers and the professional caregivers, because this is highest for burnout. Frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. Frontotemporal dementia. So which means with this one, it's not the memory that starts fading. It's the personality. When you see people, personalities changing, right? And there's two famous actors who's diagnosed with FTD. You know anyone?
Is that Michael J. Fox? Famous.
That's Parkinson's. Famous. Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And the Robin Williams. Robin Williams, FTD. So this is the disease, dementia, that is for younger people. Typically, it's 40 years old, 40, less than 65. Typically, this is the disease that they get. Okay, personality changes. I read this one time. I forgot his name, but he's a very successful in the field of technology, the tech world. And then what the ex-wife noticed is he started to be so rude with his comments, which was never her husband. The unfortunate side is they separated, but it was later when he remarried, maybe a few years later, that when he was really diagnosed with FTD. That's when, And there's always that mindset of, I wish I have known, right? Next is, I wish I can show you a much better picture of a healthy brain and unhealthy brain. So this is not a good picture, right? So why I want to show you this is for all of us to understand that dementia is a physical disease. There's problems structurally in the brain that's happening. Meaning, for caregivers, it's important to be aware that people living with Alzheimer's disease or dementia is not trying to make our lives harder. It's not their choice, right? Something's happening in their brain that's not allowing them to make sense of things, allowing them to what do you call this? To connect, right? So, and it's hard. It's a big ask. Because you're still, in your mind, this was my husband and I cannot recognize him. I don't recognize him anymore. And there's a grieving process that not a lot of us discuss, right? And that's the reason why I encourage people who might have this kind of story to share. That's part of you giving back. That's you paving the way to other people who might be experiencing, who might have loved ones with cognitive problems, right? Share your stories. How did you manage? How did you survive? And again, the beautiful thing of where we are right now is artificial intelligence. All the medical advancement is right in front of us. When you hear biomarkers, you think of blood samples, you think of spinal fluid samples, scans, right? And there's a lot of research that using this one now. That now, by drawing some blood, you'll be able to detect if you have that bad protein, the p-tau. It's a bad protein that's typically found in Alzheimer's disease. P-tau. There's tangles and you call it bad protein tangles and plaque, right? Amyloid plaque and p-tau. So now just drawing the blood, you can see, people, especially with those specialized labs, it's not for everyone yet. This is not Medicare covered yet, right? And the good thing here, it accurately predicts symptoms onset timing. What does it mean? It means that right now, because Alzheimer's is a very slow process, and we will only know that we have Alzheimer's typically when the symptoms happening. With this one, even before the symptoms occur, they can predict that this will happen in 5-7 years. That's how amazing this is. But again, it's not available for public yet, right? And the unfortunate side, from what I know, the regulators, they only have this for people who's already showing some signs of the disease at this point. So again, with the advancement, hopefully this can be for the general public soon. And again, team, the ultimate goal of you being here, sitting down here, listening, is really to identify what is normal aging and what are the red flags that we can start talking about to our loved ones. True early detection is becoming possible years before symptoms disrupt daily life. So that's very promising, right? Now, I'd like you guys to shift our mindset. If we are a caregiver, family caregiver or professional caregivers. Have you heard of Teepa Snow? Anyone who know Teepa Snow? She's one expert in dementia care, Teepa Snow. She's trained a lot of people on how to approach humanely people living with dementia. Teepa Snow. And I've attended a lot of her sessions. And one thing that stayed with me was, where do they have strengths? Let's start there. Meaning, when you are diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, it doesn't mean that you lose all your capabilities and skills and abilities. That's a myth. And one example that I can tell you was, I have a client in Burlingame. This woman was one of the most successful women I've ever met in my life. She was diagnosed with early signs of Alzheimer's disease. The moment she was diagnosed, the son, who's the financial power of attorney, took all her access to her banks. She likes to carry cash. You know, that's always been this person, this client. And the son took her all the cash, took everything. Because in his mind, she has Alzheimer's. So she's no longer capable. So they reached out to me because family members were fighting, family members were not, you know, they're angry with each other. So when I did evaluate each one of them, the son, what I discovered, the son is not trying to be mean to the mother. He did not know, he lacks the understanding that when you have Alzheimer's disease, it doesn't mean that you're no longer capable of making decisions for your life. You can be evaluated for capacity assessment. Meaning, some people, and typically neurologists do this capacity assessment. This woman, particularly this client, might not be capable of making big decisions about financial. But she still can choose what to wear for the day. She still can choose, which one to buy in grocery stores. And going back to what Tipa Snow said, where do they have strengths? Let's start there. So the son, after our conversation, understands now that to identify what are the skills still left intact with his mother. She likes to go to nice restaurants. She likes to carry $300 in her wallet, right? She always has done that. Our responsibility as caregiver is to make sure that when she's buying those, the grocery, that we keep the receipt. That's our responsibility because we have caregivers there, right? Just to have those check and balance, right? But we still don't deprive someone who's recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's all the things that she used to love, right? That's inhumane. Meet them exactly where they are. One of the most important thing to remember when you have loved ones who has cognitive problem or Alzheimer's, FTD, you go into their world. You meet them where they're at. You don't expect them to go to your world. Which means that when they think that, it's not my home. Never ever argue. No, this is your home, never. You go into their world and redirect. There's a power in redirection when you are when you're dealing with loved ones who might have Alzheimer's disease. Power of redirection. Very important, I am an advocate of respectful communication. That's why I said a while ago, hard conversation is needed and yet respectful and loving, right? When you have loved ones who might have cognitive problems, very important, face-to-face. But depending, if your loved one is, in his mind, is being attacked, you don't want to be face-to-face, right? Or else you're going to have black eye, right? No black eye. Don't say, well, Vanessa said face-to-face, right? eyes warm, they feel. They might lose a lot of things, but they feel. They feel when you're scared, they feel when you're stressed. So being intentionally present with your loved ones, being there. Voice is calm, gentle touch. If Tipa Snow, again, he's been very popular in teaching about hand over hand with people living with dementia. There's power with touch, right? Power. Use short, simple sentences, right? Very important, because I see a lot of family members who will have to explain a lot of things. They're unable to comprehend that. Simple. When you give them choices, give them 2 choices. Tea or coffee, black or white. Don't ask them, choose which one of the clothes that you want to wear here. Right? Simple choices. Now, again, we're almost nearing the end. When you see patterns that is recurring, out of character of the person, it's getting worse. It is time for what? Talk to them. Talk to them. Have a conversation with the doctor, right? Use your health insurance that you're paying a lot. Okay? Because early detection, Mr. CEO, can you read it please? Early detection.
My eyesight is not good. Unlocks access to new treatment and clinical trials.
What else?
Provide vital time to plan while the person can still actively participate in decisions.
Next.
Ensures better management of symptoms and connection to vital support services.
That's clear, right? Early detection can do this. We don't have to have those symptoms for crisis to happen before we act, right? And for those caregivers, for family caregivers, very important, you cannot give if your cup is empty. Self-love, yes, there's guilt at times, maybe culturally or whatnot. Very important that you take care of yourself first, because the only way that you can live the best life for you and your loved one is if you're healthy. It's not selfishness to choose yourself. It's not selfishness to choose yourself. Okay? So join support groups. Alzheimer's Association has a lot of support groups available. Right? Take respite breaks. If you like to hike, meet your friends, meet your girlfriends, do it, right? Ask and accept help. There's a lot of us who might be like, I don't want to accept help because it's not, they might think I'm no longer capable. Ask for help, right? Because, Melody, can you read it for me, please?
Recognition is the first act of care. Armed with knowledge and compassion, you can change someone's journey starting today.
Starting today. You're here for a reason. It is going to be our advocacy to start conversation and share your stories if you have any stories about this. Because that will help our future generation in how to handle and approach dementia humanely. Okay? So to close this discussion, again, hard conversation, loving conversation is an act of kindness. It only means that you care for the person, you care for each other, you care for yourself, which is, I think, very important. Okay? So I'm really hoping that after this presentation, you're now able to feel confident to know the difference between normal part of aging, signs of aging, versus early warning signs of Alzheimer's disease and other related dementia. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And